Magomed Ankalayev versus Alexander Rakic is going to be a fight that's going to be taking place at UFC 308. And there's a lot of people out there that seem to believe that this fight is definitely going to be a masterclass performance from Magomed Ankalayev. And honestly, I don't see that. I don't know where people are coming up with this crazy freaking statement that Magomed Ankalayev is just going to absolutely outclass Alexander Rakic. I honestly don't really see that happening at all. I feel like this fight is definitely more of a 50-50 than what people seem to realize, even though I will say this, Magomed Ankalaev is the safer pick because obviously we've seen him do more with an overall skill set. But with that being said, Alexander Rakic is a big freaking guy, and he is the most dangerous between the two when it comes to the striking, and that's without a doubt. Now, the crazy thing about this is the fact that people don't seem to realize that the light heavyweight division is a division that is struggling from a bottleneck ranking issue and also is struggling from a shallow talent pool, especially at the top of the division, because the light heavyweight division is a division that has the least amount of active fighters in the entire organization, ladies and gentlemen. There's only 34 active light heavyweights in the entire UFC. And guess what? 15 of those 34 fighters are ranked. So we are obviously going to see a lot of redundant matchup. And let me just say this, Magomed Ankalayev's best wins are against Johnny Walker and Anthony Smith. And he has a draw against Jan Blachowicz. Like, that should be saying a lot. Now, of course, Alexander Rakic, he got TKO'd by Jan Blachowicz, even though we're going to go ahead and pretty much say that it was due to injury. And of course, he got knocked out by Jiri Prochazka. But, that was after a super long layoff. He came back like a couple years later against a Jiri Prochazka fight, a fighter who was a former champion. Really tough fight for him. And in my opinion, he was whooping his ass from the beginning of the fight. So Alexander Rakic is definitely still a pretty much dangerous fighter. And I feel like this fight is more of a 50-50 than what people seem to realize, because if you guys go ahead and look at that Jiri fight, the only thing that saved Jiri from losing that fight is the fact that he is such a durable fighter. I don't know if Magomed Ankalaev is at the same level of durability as Jiri Prochazka. I really don't think that he is. But if Alexander Rakic is pretty much able to get in similar positions where he's just able to tee off against Magomed Ankalaev, the fight will end. It will end without a doubt, ladies and gentlemen. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, Magomed Ankalaev, between the two of these guys, he's definitely the safer pick. So if you guys want to go ahead and pick Ankalaev, I don't blame you. I really don't blame you. But I just want to make everybody aware of the fact that this fight is more of a 50-50 than what people seem to realize. And it's more of a 50-50 than what people would pretty much, hate to admit, because it is the truth. Now, depending on who wins the matchup, we could pretty much see two different trajectories for both of these fighters. If Alexander Rakic ends up beating Magomed Ankalaev, I really do think that we're probably going to end up seeing Rakic take on Jiri Prochazka in a rematch. And that would be crazy. I think that if Rakic definitely fights Jiri Prochazka again, based on what we saw in their first fight, I think that he has a good chance of getting, getting redemption and beating someone like Jiri Prochazka if the opportunity presents itself. And now, if we see Magomed Ankalaev beat Alexander Rakic, is that enough to get him a title shot? I think it is. I think that it's definitely enough to get Magomed Ankalaev a title shot against, Alex Pereira. And that's the fight that we all really want to see, ladies and gentlemen. We all want to see Alex Pereira pretty much dominate, pretty much clear out an entire division. If he's able to do so, that would be great. That would be awesome. Obviously, that's going to do a lot for Alex Pereira's legacy. But we all want to see him face some real challenges because, let's be honest, man, like I said in the beginning of the video, the light heavyweight division is a division that, in my opinion, really has a shallow talent pool. And just because Alex Pereira is beating former champions, you can't really say that some of the fighters that he's beating are elite fighters. Jiri Prochazka is not an elite fighter, ladies and gentlemen. This motherfucker fights with his hands down. And the same thing could be said about Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill, decent fighter, but he is crossing his feet literally in each and every single one of his past fights. And that's something that we're seeing at a professional level, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, it would be amazing to see, Ankalayev get a win over Alexander Rakic, so that we can see Alex Pereira versus, Magomed Ankalayev next, but if we see Alexander Rakic take a win over Magomed Ankalayev, I would love to see him get a rematch against Jiri Prochazka, and I would love to see him get some redemption in the light heavyweight division. In terms of who's probably feeling most of the pressure, look, I'm just gonna go ahead and be honest with each and every single one of you guys, ladies and gentlemen. I honestly do feel like Ankalaev is getting most of the pressure in this matchup. Because if you really think about it, if Alexander Rakic gets a win over arguably the number one contender in the entire division, he's gonna set himself up for, success pretty much. He has everything to win, pretty much nothing to lose, because if Rakic loses, he's going to be facing probably other guys that are in the top 10. He's really not going to do much to his career. He could pretty much get a couple of more wins and pretty much end up in the same position that he's in right now, fighting contenders for the belt. For Ankalaev, I mean, let's just go ahead and be honest, ladies and gentlemen. He's been mistreated by the UFC severely. And I don't need to tell you guys, I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of you guys that would pretty much agree with that sentiment, that Ankalaev should have fought, Alex Pereira the last time Alex Pereira fought against Khalil Roundtree. And it's a shame that that's not the matchup that we saw. Instead we saw two strikers, pretty much go on head to head. But that's what the UFC wants. The UFC does not like some of these guys that are pretty much going to go out there and grapple, that are pretty much going to hug their opponents on the edge of the fence and try to win rounds that way. That's not what the UFC wants to see. The UFC wants to make money, and in order to make money, they need to make the fans happy, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, in my honest opinion, I really do feel like Ankalaev is just one of those fighters that isn't really fan friendly for the UFC. And that's really a shame. Obviously, it is the truth. At the end of the day, the MMA game and the business side of the MMA games are two completely different things. And you have to do well nowadays in both aspects of the sport for you to be favored by the big man, pretty much by Dana White. That's why nowadays we're starting to see more and more fighters, be more open to talking on the mic, be more open to take chances in the octagon. It's because, fighters nowadays are more aware that in the sport of MMA, you can't just, win. You have to win the fans over as well, because at the end of the day, if you're bringing in money to the UFC definitely will take care of you. But it is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. At the end of the day, I really do hope that we get an entertaining matchup. I'm pretty sure that we will. But let me know who you guys are rooting for down in the comment section below. Is it going to be Alexander Rakic or is it going to be Magomed Ankalaev? Let me know your thoughts on the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like. As always, it's a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.